the first slide? Everyone should be able to see the first slide.
Now.
You can't see my whole PowerPoint, can you? You can just see the first slide. I haven't done this on. Okay, cool.
Hi everyone. Welcome to this Talk to Frontline staff session. We've got a couple of presentations today. So Krista is here from Healthwatch, who's going to talk about the STEPS program, and then Joanne from Queertopia is going to talk about the support that they offer. So I'm going to pass across to Krista. Take it away.
Can I just ask you how I've never presented this, but we can, how do I switch? I've got present in Teams. Do I go to present in Teams then? Because I've only got present in Teams as an option.
I think if you just go to sort of slideshow at the top and then view slideshow maybe, and then we should be able to see that.
Right, let me just stop sharing for 1 second. Thank you, Genevieve. Thank you. Give me 1 sec. Hold on. Let me try it this way. Share. I don't know. Oh, John, I'm stressed. I don't know. I've got present in Teams, but that's not going to work on Google Meet, is it?
If you want, do you want to send the slides to me and then I can just share them?
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. Let's just do that. Thanks. Let's just do that. 1 second. Share to. No, hold on. Oh, no. Technical glitches, John. Technical glitches. What's going on? Oh, my gosh.
You could just send me as an attachment if you want.
Hold on. Let me just wing it over to you now. 1 sec. 2 seconds. Thank you. 1 minute. Hold on, John. Hold on, Google. It's going mad. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I thought it was on Teams. I had no idea that we were presenting on Google till I just got to here. And I literally, this is the first showing of it. So hold on. Give me 1 sec. John, sending it to you now. Here you go, John. Attach as copy. Here we go. Everyone have a little chat. Talk about your new year. Did everyone have a nice Christmas? I feel like I didn't know I was first either. That's not ideal either. Hold on. Oh, New Year teething issues. Sending it now, John. It's just uploading. Sorry. Hold on 1 sec. Here we go. Right. Sent.
Pamela, do you want to come in?
John, just wanted to ask us, do we get the minutes of these meetings in terms of the services being presented?
Yeah, you'll get all the slides
Great, thank you.
for any presentation, in the newsletter, which I think I've added you to.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Has it come in, John? Did you get it?
Not yet, no.
Oh, Lord. I do apologise. I didn't know I was first off. So sorry. Hold on, you should get it any second now, guys. It's worth it. It's a really good presentation, though. I promise it'll be worth the wait. There's videos, there's animations, there's all sorts going on in it. So it'll be a fun presentation when it arrives in John's inbox.
Right, I've got it.
Amazing, thank you. I was going to send it to you, actually, but I just got back from the Tomlinson Centre, so I just literally didn't have time.
No worries. Let me just wait for it to load.
Many apologies, but I hope you guys feel like the presentation's worth it afterwards. Oh. I'll be more organised on the second presentation. My goodness. Thanks.
No
John.
need to stress. This is a very safe and friendly group.
Thanks, Genevieve. I appreciate it. Thank you. I like to be more organised. I'm not normally, John will tell you, I'm not normally like this. Lovely. Thank you. We're in. Thank you. Slideshow. Perfect. There will be a couple of videos. Can we see it? Yeah, perfect. So this is the Rough Street bunch. The layout is slightly different on John, so I'm hoping the slides still read the same. This is the Rough Street proposal. So for those of you that don't know, there's going to be a little bit of background. I work with a group called STEPS, and Lucy, who's one of the managers, is here today listening in. We work with them every other Friday, and this is basically the case study that we've just written up from the last 3 months, which is their phase 2. We worked with them since last April. All the pictures you see in this from the very first slide onwards are all real people taken from the work that we've just done over the last 3 months. So this was a gentleman that was actually getting help at our stall and so on. So this is really brought to life with Hackney residents and by Hackney residents. So if I could have the next slide, please, John. Lovely, thank you. So this is the background about STEPS. So this is the brunch bunch. So STEPS is the name of the project. It supports and transitions and empowers people. I added in here feedback from one of my reps, Emily, that I should add in that members access STEPS by referral. So everyone didn't think that everyone could go to STEPS all of a sudden. You have to get in by referral, and then they're allocated a key worker. It provides a personalised 18-month programme for men and women that are really facing tough challenges and very chaotic lifestyles on a day-to-day existence, homelessness, long-term mental health issues, substance use, and involvement with the criminal justice system. So they could have all of them, they could have 3 of the 4, they might have, I mean, Lucy might want to feed in. I think you have to have like 2 or 3 of the 4 to sort of be part of the project. So it's complex people with chaotic lifestyles that form this group of residents. If I could have the next slide, please, John. Lovely. So in the background to the project, I started working with them via Healthwatch in April 2024. Some of you may have seen some of their work they've done already. We're going to see it in a sec. And through collaborative fortnightly sessions, we worked together for an hour, maybe an hour and a quarter. They would have 3 hours a week if they could, but it's an hour every fortnight. And this is really about what you can do with an hour, 2 hours a month, like what you could turn that into. I think that's a real testament to the work that they've produced. Over the last few months, the team has already achieved like really remarkable results. So the Winter 2024 Phase 2 project marked the beginning of a very bold 3-part initiative. And it's quite interesting to me. I would like to give some context to this. So I work with another group that are quite localized, hyper-local in a PCN, and they've just launched a really good project for men. And they just wanted to keep it in that PCN. They wanted to keep it hyper-local. They were a bit scared of it being open to the whole borough. And the steps lot have no such barriers. And I love that about them. Like, oh, we want to go to Mars, Krista. Okay, how do we get there? Like, what steps do we need to take to get to Mars? And I love that enthusiasm. They don't see barriers. Like, they don't see obstacles in the same way as other people. They really have got this ambition and drive to sort of show what they can do. And I think that is testament to the work that they've put out. If I could have the next slide, please, John. Thank you. So this is what we did in the first stage. Some of you might have seen this flyer up here. There's a neighbourhood flyer up here that you might have seen circulating. And this was what they did on the first bit of work. John, that video should click. There should be a video there that Marley should click into play. No, it hasn't worked. Okay, so there was a little, I'm going to send this out afterwards, so you guys will be able to watch the videos afterwards and hear. So that's one of the members, Marley, and he's talking about why they created the flyer and what the point of the flyer was that they originally did. And it was because people like them need to know where to access help. The point of the original flyer that they created, this Finding Neighbourhood Support Services, was you can get help across the borough, and we're all aware that the council's doing an amazing job, or the VCS sector doing an amazing job, but there's loads of support services out there, but it's knowing where they are. Also, a lot of them you need referrals for, like Hackney Food Bank, for example, you need to get a referral to it. So although they're amazing, you have to be referred. The idea of this is that people can get same day help on the day. They don't need to be referred. They can go and find the people on the day. It's mapped to the borough. You can see what's where, and you can go and get help on the day. So the first outcome, we partnered up with the council for this, who very kindly paid for the first print run. They paid for both the print runs actually in partnership with us. So we had 5,000 copies that were distributed across the borough. So that was pretty amazing. And off the back of that, we've now ricocheted into phase 2. So next slide, please, John. So phase 2, oh yeah, the lineup, sorry. So the lineup has not come out very good on this. I'll have to make sure it comes out when I send it out. The slide should look proper. So the objectives of the winter phase 2, was they wanted 3 things. They didn't want to do just one flyer. They wanted to do a lot more. They wanted to do a winter version of the flyer. They wanted to put a stall on for their community where they could give stuff to people in need. And when I said, what do you want to do for Christmas? I thought they'd say, oh, just take us to Pizza Express, Krista, or the Posh Club. No, they said, we want to put a meal on and do something for our community. There is no crisis meal available anymore in Hackney. There is no Christmas meals. The services that homeless and rough sleeping community have in Hackney are very, very limited in comparison with other boroughs like South London boroughs. Haringey's got a lot more services in it. Islington, the nearest shower box, for example, is Islington to Hackney residents. So they have to go quite far to get services. And they were really keen that they didn't celebrate their own event without embracing their whole community, which I thought was really heartwarming. So next slide, please, John. So there is a little video there. So the yellow box is Christina talking about the winter flyer. So a winter version of the summer flyer, so the first goal was this winter flyer. They wanted to produce a winter version of the summer flyer, must be Christmas winter themed. They had lots of key feedback, wanting to redesign the original, adding in a new section that was specifically designed around the rough sleeping community. And the end date, our original end date of this was that the flyer would be printed and ready for circulation at the end of October. Next slide, please, John. So this is our timeline. Second bit was the stall. So the Rush Street stall, you can see some pictures from the stall. So these are real life pictures. All these pictures, for anyone that's just joined, are real life pictures from the last 3 months where we've been out doing the work. So the stall was going to run monthly for the rough sleeping community in central Hackney. They wanted it to provide street doctor services, hats, scarves, gloves, socks, blankets, anything warm, basically. SIM cards, because a lot of their community can't access their benefits and doctor's appointments and stuff like that, and get sanctioned all the time because they've never got credit on their phone. So they can't log into their journals and stuff like that. So digital access was a real problem, and dry food stuff where possible. We were aiming for the last Friday of the month outside the town hall or on Narrowway. That was the plan. Next slide, please, John. And then they wanted a Christmas event. So this is actually a picture from the Christmas event. But originally the plan was to have a Christmas meal or health and wellbeing event for the rough sleeping community for around 80 people. They wanted health and wellbeing services. They wanted a rolling buffet, crafting table, a rough street stall, and they wanted everyone to get a present. And they said a pair of socks. That's what we went with. At the time when we did this, the date was provisional when the original proposal went in, but the date was December the 20th. We sat on 3 till 6, and we still had to confirm a venue. So next slide, please, John. So the approach, how did we make it happen? All this amazing work. You're going to see the outcomes in a minute, but how did we make this happen? So next slide, please. That's Henry as well, one of my favourite members of the group as well. Can you go back a slide, please, John? Just to Henry a minute. I feel like Henry looks like a movie star in this picture. I said, why do you look like you look like you've been in Top Boy or something? Like you look like you're actually a character in the show. And he told me that he was actually in the first Top Boy. He was very proud of it. He was filmed in Dalston Market. So that was a nice story. So next slide, please, John. So how did we do it? So engaging the volunteers, how did we get all these chaotic people to be in the room every 2 weeks and turn up and want this to happen? So we had our fortnightly co-production and planning sessions. It was group-led design and distribution strategy. So they led the design and the distribution. This was their work, and I made them think about it as if it's their own business. When we were talking about the stall, I was very explicit that if I turn up for the first stall and none of them turn up, there won't be any more stalls, because this is your idea. Like, I'm not there to run it for you. You guys have to now turn up and run it. I'll be there to support you, but you guys have to run it. And when we get to the outcomes, I'll tell you, but I didn't add this on, but we had 12 out of 12 members at every single stall that we did. They were there before me, ready to unpack. So it was really, really amazing. They blew me away, actually, at how I didn't really need to do anything. They just kind of went into their own zone. So they made all the decision making on the stall, what they wanted on it, who I should work with. So I was coming to the session saying, this person's offered us this, should we take it? Anything that I was securing in donations, I was bringing to them, saying, do you want it? Do you not want it? Stuff like that. It was them that said, we want things like open doors, we want turning point, we need this on the stall, we need that on the stall. We developed and followed a very clear timeline with clear measurable outcome dates, and that was key, because not only can they see the steps and logical steps that they need to take, also really important, right, to celebrate the successes. So you've done it, the leaflet's ready, we hit our target, we got it done on time, it's gone to print. So for them, it's that achievement factor is the next inspiration to keep them going, for the next thing kind of thing. Lots of regular updates via WhatsApp and text, because I only see them out of session. So I only see them once an hour every fortnight. There was periods where we had to get like a leaflet signed off and gone to the printers, for example, where I wasn't going to see them again in that 2 weeks, and I had to get it done. And they were literally had to reply to me. They were all replying by WhatsApp, so I was sending it out. So lots of communication. Conducting regular welfare checks. So that was quite important, because in their lifestyles, if they don't turn up or they didn't respond, making sure you check in with them the next day. So there was a lot of quite in-depth work from my part managing them through the project, if I'm being honest. A bit more intensive than normal, but it definitely paid off, putting that extra bit of effort in my opinion. So next page, please, John. So this is an advert. So when you get the slides, John's seen it, you might have seen it on the poverty reduction newsletter. This was the advert. So when you press play on that bit where it says back, it will come to life with a good soundtrack and all the clothes come to life. And that was like our social media advert campaign that we launched with. So how did we engage other residents to come to our stalls and want to be involved? So all support and resources were provided free to anyone in need. It was very quickly ascertained that we wouldn't be able to just deal with the rough sleeping community, even though they had priority for certain items and things were put aside for them. We had to be open to everybody kind of thing, that anyone was in need. We made sure that anything we featured on our leaflet, and so we featured all the services on the leaflet so people knew what they were coming to, so they knew what was there already. And we made sure that the store was open and accessible to everybody. We had to put the store in a way that somebody in a wheelchair, for example, so where we were located, there was a couple of steps, and we had to locate the store that we could get wheelchair users up there if they wanted to come up as well. Learning curve as we went along. We made sure that there was a diverse range of services available, so hopefully something on there would appeal to everybody. extensive promotion through social media, WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp community groups. I cannot impress upon you the power of a leaflet in a WhatsApp community group. I'm probably in about 8 or 9 through my own project and through work. So I have a remit on WhatsApp of probably 1,500 people instantly, you know, like both one click and it's gone. And it is the fastest. Interestingly, on another bit of work, just as an ad lib on this, just to feed in for you guys, I was in a meeting the other day, we're doing a bit of work with the Bangladeshi community, and they fed back to us, and this is a learning curve for me as a manager as well, that the best way of engaging them is to do one leaflet and have a voiceover on it and send it via social media or WhatsApp. That's what they will listen to. So somebody saying what's on the leaflet in their language is the best way to engage them. So these are all tools that we learned. So there was a lot of that, newsletters, weekly updates. It went through, John was promoting it. We collaborated with a lot of VCS and system partners to boost awareness and outreach efforts. We made sure everybody knew about it. We just kept pushing it, basically, constant pushing for, I think it was probably on my list for about 12 weeks, right, John? Probably the whole duration. It was probably sitting on the update, wasn't it? So next slide, please, John. So that's how we got everyone involved. The toolbox that we use, so this is like techniques, little tricks of the trade that I found work. These are the flyers that we produced, and me and my boss at the Health and Wellbeing Board, we took a nice cheesy tourist photo whilst I was presenting at the board. For me, setting a project timeline with measurable outcome dates is key to every bit of work that we do. We designed and launched different flyers at time stages, so we didn't just have one flyer for the whole thing. We had different flyers for different things because they all did different bits. Everyone says to me, Krista, how do you make all these wonderful flyers and all these videos? How do you do it? I use Canva Pro. That's it. There's no secrets. There's no other AI writers. There's no image creators. This is all Canva Pro. So I literally do everything on it. And everyone always asks me that question. So I thought I would just put it in. It's a really simple tool that if you know how to use it, you've got so much you can do on it now. The advert that I made where the clothes come to life, that was used on Canva Pro using the Magic Creator. So you just tell it what you want it to do. And it took quite a long time, a few hours, because I've never done it before. But yeah, it was worth it when we got the advert. I think the advert was really good. So it was worth the work. Having a social media strategy and a schedule, like, it's absolutely key. I diarised at the beginning of each stage of this in my calendar. There was social media dates in my calendar when I needed to post, where I needed to post, things like that. Having a strategy is absolutely key. And then having your preferred channels and sticking to them, not just throwing it out everywhere and hoping for the best, just but like consistently, people get used to you advertising your stuff like consistently. The way I'm in my chats, I can say it's for my personal project, or I can say it's for work, and people will know to respond. So WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook are the most engaging all the time. WhatsApp is the fastest reply if you want the fastest reply from people. Instagram is great because people like a visual. So when you give them a visual, like for my donors, for example, the people that donated to the stalls, they got to see everything they donated, like coming to life on Instagram pictures of their stuff. And people, they do actually spot their donations. You would be surprised. I had a message saying, oh, it was nice to see my teddy on the toy store. And I was like, did you see that? So yeah, people do look out for stuff like that. So I think people like to see the outcomes, right? It's important to show what you're doing to get there and acknowledging the outcomes as you go along. Also sending out weekly updates. John, there's something at the bottom there. What does the bottom line say? Because I can't see it. There's something I think underneath. There's another bullet point there that I can't see. Don't know if you can shrink it a tiny bit, maybe. I don't know. There's another bullet point underneath there that I've got, but I can't see what it says. Hold on. Let me just see. Hold on. What was? Let me just see. Hold on. It was toolbox, right? Last point is, oh, we took our proposal to the Health and Wellbeing Board. There you go. And we went and pitched the Health and Wellbeing Board, because in my where I come from, if you don't ask, you don't get. So unless you go and pitch the right people, you can't get the right help. As it happened, the Health and Wellbeing Board, they didn't give us any funding. They haven't got money or anything like that. But they did link us in with Hackney Food Bank, who then sponsored the food, the catering. They paid for the food for the event. So it is about linking in with the VCS and all your system partners, and collaboration is key to success for any of these events. I couldn't have done it without the council support. I couldn't have done it without so many people's support. So if we could have the next slide, please, John. So challenges. There were a lot of challenges, definitely, over these 3 months. I'm not going to pretend there weren't. If we can have the next slide, please, John. Coming from an event management background, I'm used to challenges on the day. So yeah, I'll make sure the line on my end, this is lined up properly. So I'm just hoping this is on presentation that it's like this. But You can't just pop up with a stall. That was the first thing we found out. We can't just turn up on Mare Street. So we needed to get an event license. So there was a whole application. I needed to write an event management plan, stuff like that. Hadn't really thought about that before. I was like, I'm sure it'd be all right to do a stall. You know, like we give away stuff to the community. No, you actually need to put in an event application for something like that, even if it's for a 2-hour slot. So that was a learning curve. Leaflet distribution. So as you remember at the beginning of this, our leaflets were due to go out like October. That's when we planned for. Due to backwards and forwards with the council print department, it ended up not coming out till the first week of December. And literally, there was nothing we could do. And that's fine to say that. I feel like, Genevieve, you made a really valid point when you said this is a safe space earlier. And I think it's really important to say sometimes things go wrong and there's just nothing you can do. You can wing it on the day, you can try your best, but sometimes things are out of your hands and you just have to go with it. They were back in time for the stall, but it kind of pushed our sync out of the leaflet distribution. They didn't go out as quickly as we'd wanted them to. Another risk was lack of donations meant the stall could not run. So we formed collabs with businesses and VCS partners to make sure we got them. Adverse weather conditions. So having a stall on Narrowway in the middle of November and December, you can imagine how fun that was with the weather we had. And one of the stalls had to get rescheduled on one of the storm weekends. And we just had to re-advertise it, like cancel it and re-advertise it using social media. And then we lined up gazebos for the bigger event at Christmas to make sure we had cover to overcome that risk. Unprecedented demand. The stall got absolutely rushed, and some of the steps members were getting really stressed by the overwhelming people just like grabbing everything. And people were even stealing stuff, and we were giving it away free, and people were still stealing stuff. So we redesigned the layout of the store and made it in a safe horseshoe so that nobody could get in the back of it, and the step staff were in there safely and felt sort of more protected. We learned that there was no electric available. The caterers absolutely failed to turn up to the Christmas event at all that we booked and paid for. So we had to wing it on the day, get a taxi, bought refreshments, rang food pantries to drop stuff down because there was people queuing up for food. But we did it, but we had to think on the day, definitely. Needed more tables at Christmas. We got there and we were like, oh, we still need more tables. We've got so much stuff. Reached out to a community partner at the local church, Frampton Park Church. They dropped us down 2 tables straight away. The community really came together. This one's quite important. So the volunteers having bad mental health days, lack of attendance, etc. We actually had an incident that I didn't put on the case study, but we had an incident that there was a moment of violence in one of the sessions, and 2 of the members actually left the group. So we had quite a big fracture in the group, and we still had to deliver this. And I have to give the rest of the group absolute credit. They did not let what happened. They were like, no, that's fine. This is what we're doing. Like, leave them. If they can't behave themselves, off they go. This is our work. They were super passionate about giving a really good job, and I'm so proud of them. And then one for me at the end, as a professional, as you said, it's a safe space, being honest. I was like, what's the best way to evaluate this? Because I know roughly from my event management days, I could head count roughly how many people will come into each stall. So I knew like 50, 60 on the small stalls. We knew we saw over 200 people on the Christmas stall. How do we map that? We know we've given out 5,000 leaflets, but how do I really show the impact of that? And conversation with Charles from the council, Charles suggested using a ripple effect impact map. And then I took that idea to a resident involvement community practice that I'm part of, where we talk about evaluation, and presented it to the board and said, what did they think? And they all agreed it was the best way of going. So it was me sort of seeking advice from my colleagues. Do you think this is the best way? Because you want to present it the best way you can, right? And I think it's good to get advice from other people. I'll be honest, I was really scared of what a REM was. I had visions of numbers and statistics and datas and graphs, and I started having like internal panic attacks. And then I found out that you create it with a post-it note, a whiteboard and a pen. So I was like, I was made for this challenge. So yeah, it was nice to use my own academic brain a bit and push myself out of normal things that I would do as well. So it really benefited me speaking to my colleagues and getting that idea, which is why I wanted to include it as a challenge. Next slide, please. John, thank you. So the REM, the impact map. So this chap got so much stuff from the stalls. He came all the time. He was such a lovely man. Next slide, please, John. So we chose Ripple Effect, the REM, for this case study because it offered a clear way to capture both immediate and long-term impacts on the community. It helps highlight broader changes that have come from community actions, and it also helps us see how interconnected support systems are to each other. So big up Charles for helping me for this. I'm giving him kudos. He was the one who gave me the tour. Next slide is the REM. That's my proudest moment. Oh, and of course, everything's out of sync on the presentation. So we have the REM kind of formed itself. And it is all in position in my one, so I really apologize that it's not in position on here. I'm going to make sure it looks all right when it comes over to everybody today or tomorrow. So they self-evolved. The first, so in the middle we have our central project here, and then in the inner circle is the primary effect. So these are the immediate impacts, things that we know that we did from what we've done. And then out here is the more long-term benefits and systemic impacts. So on the stalls, so community, they kind of form themselves into 3 themes. And when you put these together, these REMs, the themes kind of self-manifest, which is really good. So we had clear 3 themes out of the work. There was community cost of living support, empowering community health resilience, and volunteer development. On the stalls, to give you the numbers, you can see the numbers on here: 35 kg of toiletries over 4 stalls, 5,000 leaflets to 42 organisations across the borough, a Christmas event, 40, which had like 200 people at it, 45 Sims were given out, 40 food parcels, 92 pairs of shoes, 100 crates of clothes. So you can see the long-term and systemic changes here. I've done it, so we've got one bubble gives you a long-term benefit, and the second one is a systemic impact, so it offers one for each. On community health resilience, so we had a street doc out with us, so at each stall we had some kind of medic or medical advice. Sexual health was the most popular one. Big shout to Katrina from Positive E. She came to as many stalls as she could, and she dealt with a lot of people on the day. We had vaccines out with us on some of the stalls. I need to add that on, actually, that vaccines was here. So health advice and resources. We gave out 500 packets of condoms, over 400 different health resources, so much stuff for like prostate cancer and stuff like that. They were really helping themselves to it. And then volunteer development down here. So the volunteers learned how to liaise with the press, because they had press interviews this time that they hadn't had on the last stage. They started from the very beginning of the project right through, and they were involved in filming and video design, which was completely new for them as well, which was quite an exciting challenge. So next slide, please, John. So feedback from residents. How did this project help? So next slide, please, John. So four actual direct quotes we got here. I'm sorry, again, it looks like it's a bit out of sync on my screen. So these stalls are fantastic. I got new shoes, jumpers, bedding, and spoke to the doc about my worries. This chap had a worry about bowel cancer, and he was able to speak to a doctor on the day, and the doctor was able to get him a referral to his GP in Tower Hamlets, which was amazing. This lady was getting coats for her elderly neighbour. This is one of my steps guys here, and this is his key worker who came down. A lot of the step staff came down on the day to support them, which was really nice. And this guy, I chose this picture, so we had loads of pictures of people that took stuff, but this guy came and took these trainers on the first stall, and I just really remembered him. And he was almost emotional because he just had no wet shoes that night. His feet were not going to be wet that night. And in a power of like a second-hand pair of trainers, you know the difference it can make. So it was quite humbling. Next slide, please, John. So the next slide is all videos. So when I send this out, you'll be able to listen. This is this lady with the red hair is Edie, the volunteer, the top one with the glass on her head. So she's a volunteer that works alongside me, and the other 4 are all STEPS members. So you can get to hear what they have to say themselves. And next slide, please, John. Takeaways from it. So key takeaways. And the next one, key takeaways for us. It's been a resounding success. We've been able to give out vital resources. We've definitely fostered community engagement, empowered individuals. And we've definitely reached very hard to reach demographics of the community. So I feel like big shout, that's the STEPS guys on the last day there, looking very, very proud of themselves at the end of a hard delivery. I think that's it, John. If you want to go to the next slide, I think that's it now. Let's have a look. Yeah, so no, not at all. So big shout. If you're on this, thank you very much. If you were one of the people that helped us, we thought it was really important to acknowledge everyone that helped us and worked alongside us with donations, partners, whatever it was, sent us stuff, dropped us a table, whatever it might have been. Thank you from all of us for making it happen. And I do believe, oh no, the last slide is lovely. Please go to the last slide. So this slide, we do feelings work with them. And this slide was from a poem that we wrote. We did a bit of poetry work in the summer. And I thought this was a perfect encapsulation of one of the STEPS members. And this quote was just from one of the STEPS people just in the summer. And I just thought it was a really powerful quote from them. And I thought it was a perfect note to finish on, really, that they carry the thought, they're permanently told they're not able, having this label, but actually they're super capable and they bring a lot to the table. So yeah, that's it from us. I'm really sorry, it's been completely out of sync. Everything's out of speech bubbles. It's a bit of a fiasco presenting it, but that's the STEPS work. So I feel a bit proud. I get quite emotional talking about the STEPS lot because I'm just super proud of them, really. And Lucy, you should be super proud of them as well, like seeing that. So I hope Lucy can take that back to pause and STEPS. So go for questions, I guess, if anyone's got any questions. Thanks for all the love. I can see loads of hearts. Oh, Alina just came in now, so she just missed it. No worries, but feel free if anyone's got any questions or anything. Like, fire I can't see hands, so John, go for it if you want to. Like, let me know. Thank you, Charlie. I know you were here, and thank you so much for giving me the REM idea. I make sure you got your credit for it.
Thank you so much, Krista. That was absolutely superb, and yeah, brilliant work, and amazing to see all the impact and the testimonies as well. Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Krista about the project? just feel free to come in, put your hand up.
I'll get the slides to John tomorrow, so he
Yeah,
can get them out to
I'll send them out
everybody.
in the newsletter. Anyone have any questions?
Anything about engagement or anything like that? I talk really fast as well, so you probably will feel like you've been in a washing machine.
I was going to ask about the lessons around engagement and the little bits of the sort of snippets of info you've got in there about how best to engage with residents. Are you capturing that in would that be in your report? And
yeah, be in my end of
I'm
year
just
report.
thinking about how to share those insights with people internally at the council and elsewhere, because I think there's some really important and valuable lessons to take away from that, and practically how to actually get the message out about things. So I'm just wondering what the best way
in my
to
end of year report, I'm putting a page in about engagement toolbox, resident engagement toolbox, and it's literally like a visual of a toolbox with all things coming out of it of different ways, the best ways of communicating with residents.
Yeah, because even what you were saying about the speaking to the Bengali community and how they would prefer to receive
Learning, right? It's learning, sharing knowledge.
That sort of thing is so valuable, and
so key, right?
really important to capture that somewhere. So yeah, in my mind, I'm thinking of some sort of system we can all tap into.
That would be amazing if we could actually create something system focused like that. That's just because it's little bits of knowledge, right? Like I knew different ways of mapping impact. Obviously, I've been mapping impact like all my life at work professionally, but I was just like, how do you map something that you haven't got a set number? Like, how do you actually show? And then there's Charlie, he came in and that conversation like was amazing. And it was nice for me as a professional to do something that I haven't done before, push my own remits as well. You know, it's good to challenge yourself as a professional, something I've never done before. Social prescribers can definitely be involved. That we get everything we do goes out to the GP surgeries, so they can refer in reps to me at any time. We've got my men's group. There's another group I work with, the men's group. I'll be getting all the info from that out to the Wells Street common social prescribers in the next week or so. Their flyers going off to print tomorrow. So yeah, we do share it with everybody everywhere where we can. And I've got a mailing list as well. So you can always sign up on my mailing list on my email, or John will link you into it. I've got a community of practice one, and I lead on the community of practice resident involvement, one of the leads. And then my weekly update is so I send out, for those who don't know me, I send out an update list email every Monday afternoon, late afternoon. So we're sharing each other's opportunities basically and what everybody else wants to share. So if you've got anything we're particularly looking for, community shout outs or whatever. So if you've got anything that you want to share to sort of a wider resident remit, please feel free to send it to me or via John or Charlie to me, and they'll get it to me and I can include it in any updates. That's not a problem. I think that's key as well. Like working with people, you get a lot of people that are silo workers, and they want to be silo workers because they want to, I don't know, funding or credit or whatever it might be for. And I think the key is actually collaboration and documenting, me personally.
Yeah, totally agree. Thanks, Krista. Charlie, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Krista. It was a great presentation. It's nice to see it all come to life.
Charlie stood with us on the stall till 6 o'clock. So I have to give Charlie, you all have to give Charlie an extra big up, because he should have gone home at 5 o'clock on the 20th of December, and the rain came down and he literally stayed to the very end with our gazebo because we had the fiasco. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for no, it was my pleasure. It was a great day. I just wanted to say I'd even forgotten that I mentioned ripple effect mapping, but I've just posted a link in the chat for anyone who wants to know more about ripple effect. Very happy to chat about my experience of it. I'm sure Krista will share hers, and there's a great page that the University of Minnesota posted have around.
Yeah, I read that. Where you got it from? That's where I looked up. I was reading up as well yesterday.
It's a great tool just to look at how you can tell the story of the impact of your work beyond just the numbers. So
there's a resource that I saw. If I write in my diary, hold on a minute, I'll put share REM resource. I found a really good resource. There was a couple from Minnesota, or one of those things, and about community project impact mapping especially. I'll send that over to you tomorrow, John, and then you can share it out to people. Yeah, no problem at all.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'll send that out, because I was looking at the same stuff, but it was something I think it's good as professionals as well to challenge yourself sometimes too, and do something, you know, push your own remits as well. And it wasn't half a scary experience. I was so excited about actually doing it. So yeah, I'm a bit upset it wasn't synced up properly on the screen because it looks so beautiful, but I'll make sure it looks beautiful. But yeah,
I think
so thank you.
I opened it in Google and it's a Microsoft slideshow, but I'm sure it'll be fine in the newsletter. Does anyone else have any questions for Krista before we move on to our next presentation? No.
Brilliant.
Okay. Well, a big thank you, Krista. Thanks for
Thank you.
that brilliant
Great work.
presentation. And yeah, thank you again.
They did really well, right? The steps guys did really well. Like, I feel like absolutely superb. I'm the organ grinder, the glorified secretary, for want of a better word. I just write it all up and make it sound good. They were, Charles will tell you, he was on the stall with us and he saw, weren't they good, Charles? They literally just, yeah. So to give you a background, one of the members, she's long-term recovering alcoholic, but she used to be a pub landlady back in the day for years and years. And the minute she got on the stool, she was absolutely Peggy from EastEnders. The minute she went into work mode, I was just like, oh, I don't need to do anything. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant to watch her. Very pleased. Thanks for having me. Thanks so much, everyone.
No worries. Thank you, Krista. Great. Welcome, Joanne. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're going to move on to Joanne is here from Queertopia. So I'm going to pass over to Joanne. I don't know if you wanted to share the slides or if you want me to share them, but up to you.
Okay, maybe you. I'm not used to using Google. I usually use Teams.
No worries. I'll bring up the slides now.
Thank you. All right, so while you're doing that, I'll give you a little bit of an intro to who I am. I don't know if my background's a little bit too noisy for you. This is part of the issues about being a grassroots organisation. You've got to do 2 jobs certain times, you know. So I finished my 9 to 5 exactly just before 5. No one ain't saying anything, but yes. And so my name is Joanne English, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Queertopia Consortium. My pronouns is she and her, and it's an LGBTQIA community service led by the community, and it's a hyperlocal model just for Hackney. Okay, so next slide. So Queertopia's mission, as I said earlier, is that we're a registered CIC working to improve healthcare access experience for the LGBTQIA community, especially those from global majority. What we're starting to see is that a lot of organisations, it's not specifically just for people of colour, but it's for the wider community. But lots of services don't necessarily engage people of colour that are LGBTQIA into services very well. And so what I've done is that setting up this organisation, being a representative for the community, people are more likely to engage with services, right? And so what we want to capture is why, what is the barriers? So our vision is to foster belonging, building access and empowering the LGBTQIA community in all the areas of healthcare. I say LGBTQIA community, but my languages, I just tend to say queer community. I know that sometimes that can offend like the older community, once upon a time, but I think, you know, as language improves, people kind of a lot more acceptable to using queer language. So it's to help healthcare services create more of a welcoming and support services, and we want to be able to improve health outcomes for the LGBTQI community, as well as just addressing general needs as well. Next slide. So here is like some of the challenges in regards to like the global majority, talking about like stigma, discrimination, lack of inclusive spaces when it comes to people of colour and the LGBTQI community as well. So 52% of the LGBTQI community are more likely to report like mental health needs in comparison to 19% of the general population. So people from the community report that at least 1 in 7 people avoid healthcare services due to discrimination. For me, that is shocking, right? You know, when we think about health inequalities and wanting to improve people's health, 1 in 7 is a huge amount of number. And then when we look at trans health community, 50% of people complain about, and it's probably more because a lot of people don't necessarily report, you know, discrimination, whether it's through healthcare, Healthwatch, PALS and stuff like that. A lot of people don't even know about like how to do it and what these agencies are for. But nonetheless, this is what the stats and statistics show. Next slide, please. So health access for people of colour from LGBTQI community. People of colour report higher rates. Stats and statistics shows that there is a huge health disparity. 63% of Black LGBTQI people in the UK report experiencing depression and anxiety, yet less likely to receive adequate support. So my question was, why? Why are we not engaging in these services? And how can services actually bridge the gap? How can we bridge the gap? So that's what Queertopia is about. So the access to services, and studies show that Black LGBTQI people, individuals, are more likely to delay seeking support for healthcare as well as mental health services due to biases and discrimination. Lots of times people just see it as, okay, you've got an LGBT lead, but usually that doesn't encompasses everybody, and not everyone's going to feel comfortable in disclosing, you know, their sexuality when it comes to people of color particularly, and the wider community as well. So it's around how we approach those conversations in the beginning around assessments and things like that. So the call for inclusive care, so creating a welcoming, trauma-informed space is essential to improving health outcomes for people of colour and the wider community as well. And this is what we do in having our forum. So next slide. This goes on a little bit more about the discrimination, the lack of LGBTQI specific services as well, where people can feel more inclusive to go to a service that they feel is dedicated to them. Often people just signpost people to say, I'll just go to London Friends or, you know, other agencies, but actually what do they offer? Does people even know what their offer is, right? So it's having more actually guidance and understanding about what we're signposting people to, and also understanding the cultural elements and the history behind why we access certain services and why we don't. So this goes on a little bit more about understanding intersectionalities and the identities that happen to within the community, and also around education and language. You know, like I myself have been in workplaces and stuff like that, like, oh, discrimination, that's just so the 80s. And I'm like, no, it's very real. It's very real for me. You know, when we look at, I don't know, like some of my colleagues who may be middle class or maybe middle-aged white woman, and she says she's a lesbian, it's very different than comparison to me being a Black woman from a working class family and being a lesbian. It's two different worlds. And so yeah. So next slide. So we talked earlier about signposting the people of color and also the local, like, general community into like certain types of therapies. So we're creating like a list at the moment of different therapies and therapy services like Gallup, you know, what they offer as well, ELOP. And so when people come to access our services, we can refer them to different counselling services, whether it's paid or unpaid. But yeah, we're developing resources and sharing the need for that. And also the need for support groups. These are some of the things that our beneficiaries have said that they want to see from the community as well. Okay. So when it comes to accessing services, what we've identified is that a lot of services have a lot of, you know, not a lot, but I guess there's this cultural competency. We use this word quite loosely. It's a bit of a buzzword at the moment. But what I like to promote is cultural curiosity. So it's around having curiosity. How is your service? You know, when we're looking at equality, how are they doing this? What is the provision for this? So here at Queertopia, we are providing training around languages to be more inclusive within services. You know, how do we change language and cultural competency? Is through empathy and understanding. So it's having experiential groups so people can actually share their stories, you know, service user stories, beneficiary stories, people from the community stories, so we can be more trauma informed and actually gather the people's opinions through having conversations, as a way of me training being delivered that you just come along and tell people this is what you need to do now, this is the language that you need to use, but people don't actually truly understand the trauma that is caused when you mispronounce somebody, right? That's just an example. Okay, next slide, please. So we want to increase like physical healthcare needs, and when we're looking at chronic illnesses, mental health needs, talking about the barriers and the impact that it causes, and bit of more or less what I said earlier. Next slide. So our core services at the moment is we have a business and partnership forum. So we invite agencies such as yourselves to come along, and it's a chance to discuss what the community needs. So it's, for example, we have LGBTQIA History Month coming up in February. What our services doing? It's a chance to share what your service is doing, find out what other services have on offer. If you have beneficiaries that are from the community where you can signpost them, it's also an opportunity for people from the community to come along and have like support, business support needs as well. So we have agencies such as Hackney Impact, Hackney CVS that attend. We also have London and Partners, where they get quite a lot of money. They get like £13 million a year to support services, and they have a range of services. So they come along to our forum, and it's an opportunity for you to get signposted, whether you want to become a private limited company, GIC, or a charity. They will signpost you to various different agencies. So we're looking to become partners with them as well. And it's also a space to share learning and also celebrate learning, which is really important as well. We're also going to be launching our community forum, which is going to be hosted at the library, Dalston CLR James Library, which I can share the information for that. We are going to be having this space. It's free, and it's going to be 6 p.m. till 7:30, first Thursday of every month. And yeah, we'll go into that some more. Let's go to the next slide. So the impact of the community-led forum. So it's a safe space. These are the benefits of coming. So it's a safe space where people from the community can come along. You don't have to go to a place where some people don't feel comfortable about being out, particularly people of colour. You know, some people are happy to be out and claim, you know, their identity, their sexual identity and stuff like that, but some people don't. So where we have categories of men who have sex with men, but however want to be in a space and won't have to feel that they have to be on, I don't know, like certain apps and stuff like that, or be involved in things like chemsex, which causes harm. It's a space where you can come and meet people, connect and build relationships. And also having it in the library is around it being in a sober space. So often people from the community feel that they need to be in spaces where there's often drugs or alcohol, you know, to engage with people. But we want to be able to have a safe space where you can come and connect and don't have to feel intoxicated or feel pressured to have a drink. And actually, I don't know, sometimes some of our forums we play games, we're going to be having certain, you know, conversations, but building relationships nonetheless. So it's also around like breaking down certain barriers. So it's an opportunity to talk about what was their experiences accessing services, and they can share this information in a confidential space and not be worried about, you know, any reprisals, things happening back to them as a result of them giving feedback. We know that often service users don't feel comfortable in filling in feedback forms and things like that, or often feel that they're not going to be seen or heard. So this is a space where information can be gathered in a confidential way, as we're a complete independent service working with this cohort of residents. So we want to empower the community, you know, to have a voice and talk and say what it is that they need to say, as well as we can then feed this information to cabinet members, as well as other healthcare services and other services in general. And so coming along to the business forum, they will find out what the community is saying, right? Okay, next slide. So this is our business partnership forum, and as I said earlier, it's an opportunity to have shared learning. to be more collaborative, community engagement. So our next forum is on the 10th of February, 2 till 4 p.m. at Shoreditch Town Hall. At the moment, because the town hall is going through refurbishments, we are not going to be completely accessible. However, the meeting is hybrid, so we'll be able to host that way for the time being until we can find another premises, or until when the building works is completed at Shoreditch Town Hall. But it's a great opportunity. So this month, I haven't set the agenda yet, but I can give you a bit of an exclusive. We're going to be focusing on Queer History Month and activism. We have guest speakers that are going to be coming along to talk about their activist work that they've been doing within the borough, and also locally to London as well. And for March, we're going to be doing a forum around HIV and what services are available within the borough. So each month we have a different theme, and the community sets the agenda for each meeting. Next slide. So Queertopia's achievements, I had to put me in there, you know. Come on. So we got nominated for 2 awards by a Business Women's Club. One was for Startup of the Year and EDI of the Year. We got runners up for both categories, which was amazing. And considering we've only been going since literally we registered a business like in May, and so to be nominated and to receive runners up by October was a huge achievement for our organisation. And you know, this is just something that we're just learning as we go along, and yeah, so it was a big achievement. Next slide, please. All right, so call to action from partners. We want you to be involved, right? We want you to be involved. We want you to come along to our forum, share your learning, share the things, you know, a bit like we were talking earlier on just now, Krista, about, you know, around sharing materials, what does that look like? Building on the ecosystem for the LGBTQI community here in Hackney. We're struggling with funding and things like that at the moment as well. So if we can get some support around putting in funding applications. We're really fortunate to have space. So we've got space at the library, which is amazing. And also we've got space at Shoreditch Town Hall, which was the first to actually offer us some space actually, which is good. We also get a lot of support from Hackney CVS as well. And Hackney Impact's also been involved, and also now London Partners. But you know, so even where we're going to be having this forum on the 6th of February for the community, if we can have like some, like, I don't know, some refreshments, things like that we can offer the community to come along so that they can feel comfortable in sharing, and having like refreshments, I think really goes a long way, right? And so yeah, so, and also letting people know that this is a safe space. So it's a space where people from residents from the community can come along and feel safe to build relationships at our community forums, and not feel that they're going to be judged or stigmatized. And it's an inclusive space as well. And so, yeah, next slide, please. So this is my email address. So if anybody wants to email me, and here's our website. I'm also on LinkedIn, it's Joanne English. And we also have our Instagram going, which is Hackney Queertopia. I am following quite a lot of the organisations that are on here today. I'll really appreciate if you give me a follow back, which would be good to help promote our services. I'm happy to provide any flyers as well to your organisations. We've got paper form, as well as also I can send it to you electronically. So yeah, if you can follow us on our journey, which will be amazing, as well as TikTok as well, which is good. You get to follow us on our journey, building Queertopia throughout the year. So we'll see where we are by this time next year. And that's it. Any questions?
Thanks, Joanne. That was great. Fantastic presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Joanne? Charlie?
Thank you, Joanne. That was a great presentation. I'm just interested in that about partnership and use of space. So you're going to be in Dalston CLI Library on Thursdays from 6, you said, right?
6 till 7:30 will be the community forum, first Thursday of every month.
Just have you ever connected with our colleague Eden, who runs the Welcome Hub for Refugees and Migrants, that also operates on Thursdays outside of the CLI Library from 2:30 to 4? There may be some intersections there that might be interesting, and if you're going to be in the same space and continuity, it might be worth having that chat. Would you like me to send an instruction between you both?
Absolutely, that would be beautiful. Because one of the issues are as well is that a lot of the people from the refugee community, you know, because of funding, they don't have the finances to go out and meet people from the community where they fled countries where they are, you know, being prosecuted for being LGBTQIA. You know, this is a space where they can come and actually connect and build relationships without being worried, you know, or being scrutinized or be stigmatized due to their statuses and things like that. So, and it's a free space as well. So yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Perfect. I'll connect you both and I'll send some emails between you, and then hopefully we can get that conversation started. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that, Charles.
Nice one. Thanks, Charlie. Krista.
Great presentation. Lovely to see you again. Nice presentation and good to see. Just off the back of what you were just talking about refugees and migrants, quick promo on behalf of my friend here. For those of you that are interested in refugees and migrants, there's a 4-part program coming up on Channel 4 in February that my friend's the producer of, and Suki, her name is, and they've taken 4 far right thinking people and placed them in 4 countries and made them do the 4 individual, or 6, I think it is, actually doing the refugees journeys from the country, from some of the most dangerous refugee journeys. So they're taking like real further right thinkers and they're making them live actually travel the refugee journey from this war-torn country. So it should be a really good bit of viewing. And if you're into refugees and migrants, you might definitely want to watch that. That was all. I was just letting you know. So quick promo, because I just thought it's really good and people that were into that would definitely want to watch it. That's all.
Thanks, Krista. That sounds really interesting. Does anyone else have any other questions for Joanne? Jahada.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Joanne. Great presentation. I just wanted to mention to you the Hackney Refugee Migrant Forum is taking place on the 27th of Feb. You might want to attend and talk about your service offer.
Thank you so much. And
You're
Jahad
welcome.
has been with me with this journey. So I used to chair Hackney CVS LGBTQIA forum, and I did that for a few years. And Jahad used to be the person, being the admin person, sorting everything out for us. So yeah, it's good to see you, Jahada.
You too. Thank you.
I also want to give a shout out to
reps.
Mal as well. We've got Mal on the call, and she's been supporting us as well as a volunteer. Thanks, Mal. Good to see you. So Mel will be coming here every fortnightly, representing Queertopia as well. Who has a question?
Reps that would be quite interested in joining this as well, I would imagine. I've got a couple of reps that do quite a lot for the LGBTQIA section. So if you're having forums and stuff, let me know and I can always share that information to them because they might well want to attend.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great, thanks, Krista and Jahada. Charlie.
Sorry for another question.
Always.
It was a great presentation. I'm keen to understand from speaking to kind of the community, what services are coming up as ones that are struggling, people having access to. I'd be particularly interested around council services. Where are those barriers appearing, or which services are seemingly the most resistant to making people feel included in that conversation?
I mean, the first thing that people were talking about were like, I mean, maybe because it was focusing on health inequalities, but the first thing, when I did have the first forum, people were highlighting around GP access. That was the first thing that people talked about, was GP access. People also talked about sexual health access. People talked about, you know, I found it absolutely shocking that people didn't know what is PEP and PrEP. Didn't know what it is. Didn't know. And some of these people actually worked in healthcare. They were clinical staff, and they didn't know what PEP and PrEP was, right? That is alarming for me. to think that this is easily available. So then I thought to myself, okay, so how are sexual health services advertising what it is when we're looking at Hackney being the 3rd highest in the country for HIV? But yet people from the community, especially people of colour from the community, don't know what PEP and PrEP is.
We
That's
gave
not
out
it.
on the stall, Lorraine, we gave out loads of resources on PrEP and all that. We gave out loads of resources on that stuff. It was a really popular resource, like the prostate cancer one on the stalls that we did. I've got like loads of merch that's still left that I'm just going to keep taking out with me on the road over this year, because it was clear that people, and a lot of people were saying that you don't see this stuff everywhere, so it was good to see it out. You have to go to like these sort of specialist sexual health places to get this information, and there was a lot of symptom checking kind of thing, and the resources that we had were good guides, whether they needed to go and address things or whatever. But they were a very popular resource on the stalls that we did over the winter period, definitely.
I went to like a few of the barber shops, and the barbers, I was telling them about HIV being extremely high in Hackney and STDs being high in Hackney. They said they had no idea. They didn't even know what is the waiting list. They didn't even know what PEP and PrEP was. They said, Joanne, how do we sign up? I remember back in the day, Brooke used to provide come correct cards so that you can go and get free like condoms and stuff like that from pharmacies. I didn't know where to send them. These were young people. These were young black males who were asking me. I didn't know where to send them. So that's the reason why I'm advising, or I'm calling for services to come along to the forum and tell me and share with other services what the offer is. Where do we need to go? Where do we need to signpost our community as part of a strategy and building on inclusion, because people don't know where to go. When we look at the numbers of black women between 25 and 45 that have HIV, I was talking to a nurse who talked about a woman came into their service, died from AIDS, age 37. Don't know where to go.
So we've got some work coming up.
Shocking.
I've got some work coming up that I've already been working part of with Frooks, who's one of the heads of sexual health in Hackney from the NHS Nell side. And this is definitely a conversation that she would be interested in having and doing some resident involvement work in. Can you guys link in this lady with my email, please, to make sure she's got my email, and then we can definitely have a conversation on that, because I've got reps already a bit active on sexual health work. And they did do one about STIs and stuff like that, a workshop about that kind of stuff the other day. So we're quite active in that chain, so I can definitely link you in with the right services to come to your forums and stuff like that, if that's any help. Yeah, and maybe I think there's some work coming up that we'll be doing, so it'd be good to work with your community as part of it, perhaps, and get your lot's feedback. Get linked in. Let's get linked in.
It's actually really worrying when I'm hearing lesbians talking about when they go to sexual health services and that they are struggling to get tested for all different types of STDs, and how they're being informed not to. Yeah. All of these types of conversation, all of these things that I'm hearing about, misdiagnosis, I'm hearing the list goes on and on and on. I can give case studies on a variety of different things. Yeah. So it's about actually, this is what Queertopia wants to actually do, is advocate for our services, for our community, for our residents, so that we can then start to feel seen and heard. Charles?
I'm just thinking about other spaces where this kind of conversation would be important to take it to. So obviously at your forum, and I think other forums as well. Have you come across any of the PCN leadership groups? So this is getting very council-y speak, but each health and care neighbourhood has a leadership group of partners who come together about the health priorities in that neighbourhood. This should be flagged. We work with that central neighbourhoods team around the coordination of messages there. If we can maybe put you in touch, or work out how to build that message appropriately across all of those 8 neighbourhoods, so people are thinking about this in their planning for how to tackle health inequality.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to do that. You know, I feel that this voice needs to be heard, that people's voices need to be heard, you know, and people have lost trust. they've lost trust. They don't think that services care. And I'm like, no, they do care. They're like, they don't care, Joe. I said, you know what, Public Health England is making services care. So our voices have to be heard now. And so they're happy for me to advocate on their behalf. But actually, for us to really evoke change is to gain understanding and people to listen and to get buy-in from allies, that people do listen and that people's voices can be accounted for when they're making certain decisions around funding and strategy and stuff like that.
100%. Let me, I'll have a think about who the right person to take that to is. I think Krista's right, Freaks and Public Health would be a great point, but also there'll be people inside the neighbourhood teams who would
Brooks will
appreciate.
be really keen to be involved if she thinks there's any kind of gap. She's really proactive and she's like one of the head clinical leads. So link me in by email with Joe and then I can get that conversation going with Brooks, definitely.
I'll do that right now.
Thank you. Well, not right now. I need to show off.
We are actually doing a pilot, actually. I saw Annabelle was here, Annabelle Burns. I think she's just left. But we are doing a pilot with Hobbiton, the health innovation team. We're delivering a training on the 7th of February. And we're doing training in a different way, in an innovative way. So we're going to be watching a play called At Rainbow's End, which looks at
some of my
three
reps
different
have seen it.
relationships.
I was promoting it on the weekly update because there was some free tickets for residents, so I stuck it on the weekly update. John, I've got to leave now as well, but call me afterwards. You can call me. Yep, call me after. Nice to see everybody.
Cool. Cheers,
Thank you
Krista.
for having me. I'll send the slides out. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Krista.
Bye, Krista. Yeah, so we're going to be delivering training to explore people's thoughts and opinions and to gain understanding in terms of people's empathy. Sometimes people learn in different types of ways, and that's what we're trying to unpack with the innovation team, is to use different learning strategies to engage people in looking at their practice.
That sounds great. Is that just for healthcare professionals or is it open to?
At the moment, I'm open to delivering training to all services, of course.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll definitely include that offer because that sounds really valuable. Does anyone else have any other questions for Joanne? No, it doesn't look like it. But thanks, Joanne. That was absolutely fantastic. Really, really powerful presentation, and thank you so much for coming along. And yeah, me and Charlie can have a think about what other networks and forums to connect you into. So yeah, I think we'll be in touch definitely. So yeah, and I'll obviously share all of your info in the newsletter as well. We've got about 13 minutes left. So if anyone has anything they want to share or promote, now's your chance before we wrap up. Charlie?
Sorry, I feel like I always do this at the end of meetings. We're continuing to work with Crew Energy to deliver energy advice across the borough. We're now booking in sessions between now and the end of March on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, kind of 9 to 5. So if your organisation would like them to come to a forum or a meeting you're hosting and want the communities you're working with to have energy advice, these are kind of one-to-one conversations with residents, how to maximise their income around making sure they're using the right energy bills, they're not overpaying over the odds for the energy, they're getting the right things they're eligible for, and then also some like efficient LED light bulbs and blocking out of radiators, like the kind of things that can really reduce the costs of the household around energy. Just let me know. We're myself and Marcella, if any of you know Marcella, are booking those in earnest. I'll stick my email in the chat and just email me and we'll try and get you booked in.
Nice one, thanks, Charlie. Maybe we should get them to come along to one of these as well to shout out about it. Cool. I think we'll wrap up there unless anyone else has got anything else they want to share. But thanks everyone for coming along. Thank you, Mal and Joanne. Batia, not sure if you meant to put your hand up there, but feel free to come in if you have something to say. Okay, I think that might have been an accidental hand. So we're going to wrap up, and yeah, thanks everyone for coming along, and hopefully see you next time. Thanks everyone. Bye.